Hi, it's Chris with Wealth Preservation Method. I want to welcome you to this very special training. In the training today, I'm going to be talking to you about how our company, the Wealth Preservation Method, is able to pay 15% annualized returns. Now, I think this training is incredibly important because it's going to give you clarity on how that 15% annualized return is possible. I think this is important, especially in the economic climate we're in now, where 15% annualized returns, as you probably know, are uncommon. And anytime something is uncommon, it's really easy to say, oh, that can't be true, and just write it off in your mind as there's got to be something fishy going on. That's a red flag. Stay away, right? So that's why we created this training, because I want to just reveal our numbers to you, show you the math, and help not only give you clarity, but give you confidence around how we are able to pay 15% annualized returns. Now, before we jump into the training today, you can see here I've got my cell phone on the screen. If you have not scheduled a strategy session on my calendar, or you have questions around anything we're going to talk about in this training, please feel free to contact me on my cell phone. I would tell you text message is going to be the most efficient way to do that. I get a lot of calls throughout the day just talking to people about what we're going to be talking about in this training. So text message is going to be the best way to get a hold of me. You can also get onto my calendar by going to wealthpreservationmethod.com/call. And again, if you've already scheduled a strategy session with me and you're just watching this training as a piece of content to get familiar with our program before we get in that call, then there's nothing you need to do other than pay attention and maybe write your questions down that surface from what I'm about to share with you. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive in. Today we're going to talk about how are we able to pay 15% annualized returns. This is one of the most frequently asked questions we get when I tell people 15% is part of our program. So what I'd like to do for this training specifically is I'd like to walk you through a deal scenario. Okay, now in this scenario, we are going to assume that the cost of the project, and when we say project, it's going to be the cost of the investment to purchase the property that we are going to rehab, is going to cost $110,000. Okay, so this is the money that you would be bringing to the table to get into this deal. Now, you can see here, I want to make it clear, this is what you would bring, or you would bring part of it. And what do I mean when I say part of it? We do have a program where if you're not able to bring the full 110,000 in this example, some of our projects are 150,000, some of them might be 225,000, some of them might be 60,000. But if you can't bring the full project cost to the table, then what we can do is we can partner you up with somebody else who is also not able to bring the full project cost to the table, and then you would just have to adjust the math accordingly. In fact, our minimum investment to get into one of our projects currently is $15,000 to $20,000. So if you've got at least $15,000 to $20,000, then what we're going to talk about today will apply to you. All right, so in this deal scenario, I want to make this note right out of the gate. If you give the $110,000, or maybe you're only able to give $40,000 or $15,000, you are going to get all of that money back at the end of the deal. Okay, so we are offering you interest-only payments. What that means is your principal into the deal, in this case, $110,000, is going to be 100% protected and backed by the deal. By the deal, I mean backed by the home. It's going to be backed by an insurance policy. It's going to be backed by a mortgage deed of trust. It's going to be backed by a promissory note. So that $110,000, or whatever the number is coming from your bank account, is going to be fully protected. We are going to pay interest-only payments on that money, and then you are going to get the full principal amount, in this example today, $110,000, back at the end of the deal. So I want to make sure that's crystal clear. Okay, moving on, we are going to make two assumptions here in this deal scenario. Okay, assumption number one is that this project is going to take 9 months. Now, our goal is for our projects to take 6 months. But it would be disingenuous of me to not also tell you it's possible that a project could take 12 months. Now, a project has never taken us 12 months, just so you're aware of that. However, it's possible. So I need to put all possibilities on the table, and that's why I'm going with 9 months in this scenario. What I do want to point out is that no matter how long it takes our project to complete, you are always going to get paid interest for every day your money is not sitting in your bank account. So if the project takes 9 months and 15 days, you're going to get paid 9 months and 15 days of interest. Okay. Assumption number 2 in this particular deal scenario is that the property, after we fix it up and sell it, is going to sell for $150,000. Okay. Projects could sell for more. They could sell for 180. They could sell for less. They could sell for 130. In this deal scenario, we're using 150. The reason I'm using that number is because, generally speaking, when we borrow, in this example, $110,000, the spread between what we borrow and what a property sells for oftentimes is in that $30,000 to $40,000, $50,000 range. Okay, so if we're borrowing $110,000 in this example, I just went with the property is going to sell for $150,000. Okay, so those are the 2 assumptions going into the deal scenario, and that's going to be important as we start to talk through the math so that I can show you how we're able to get 15% annualized returns. All right, so here's the math. How much will my 9-month return be in this deal scenario? And you can see here on the screen, your 9-month return in this deal would be 11.25%. Now the question is, how did I get to 11.25%? Here's how. Remember, we're paying 15% annualized return. What that means is over the course of a year, over the course of 12 months, we're paying out 15%. So what we have to do is divide that 15% by 12 months to get the percent that we're paying each month. So you can see here, the math is that every month we're paying 1.25%. If this deal is going to take 9 months, that means we are going to end up paying you 11.25%. Now, in reality, it's unlikely a deal is going to take exactly 9 months, right? The deal is probably going to take 9 months and 5 days, or it's going to take 8 months and 22 days, okay? What we do in that case is we would take the 15% annualized return, we would divide that by the number of days in the year, and then we would just multiply that number by how many days the project lasted, okay? Hopefully that makes sense. So in this scenario, the real return would probably be like 11.47% or something weird like that, because it's very unlikely that the project is going to end right on exactly 9 months, okay? But in this example, we're going to go with 11.25%. Now, 11.25% return over 9 months means you're going to get paid $12,375 on your $110,000 investment if you were to be putting all of the money into this deal that we are talking through today. Now, how did I get to $12,375? Here's how we got to that math. You put down $110,000 hypothetically of your money. We multiply that by 11.25% or 0.1125, and that's how we know going into this deal, if it's going to take 9 months, my company has budgeted to pay you at the end of the project $12,375, plus we're going to give you your $110,000 back, okay? Moving on, let's do the math on this deal so that you can see, where is this $12,375 coming from that we're going to pay you? Very important question, okay? So the first thing we have to talk about is expenses on the deal. These are the typical expenses that we have to pay on every real estate deal that we manage, okay? The first one is probably the obvious one. There's going to be realtor commissions. When we sell the property, on average, we're going to pay around 6%. Okay. Now remember, we're selling the property for $150,000 in this hypothetical scenario. that means the realtor commission is going to cost us $9,000 in expenses. Okay, here's the math. 150,000 times that 6% or 0.06 gets us to the $9,000. That's going to be our expense to the realtors. Okay, the next expense we're going to have is legal expenses, taxes, insurance, utilities, maintenance miscellaneous expenses, which could be different things that pop up on the project, as I'm sure you could imagine would happen in a real estate project. Okay, now what we know from experience doing hundreds of deals is that we budget for around 4% of the sale price of the property typically will cover these expenses here. Okay, so how do we get to that math? We're going to take that $150,000 sale price, multiply it by 4% or 0.04. That's going to get us $6,000 in expenses on these particular line items. All right, and if you're doing the math at home, the total expenses on this project are going to be in the ballpark of $15,000. Now, of course, our goal is to keep the expenses as low as possible. And so we're always looking for ways to get cheaper insurance and to lower the cost of our legal expenses and all these other things that pop up on a project. Okay, but for budgeting purposes, we can just say that this deal scenario is going to cost around $15,000 in expenses. Okay, so now what we can do is we can talk about the profit on this deal. And the net profits on this deal, if you're putting all the math together, is $25,000. Now, how did we get to that math? Here's how we did it. The property sold for $150,000. Okay, we've got $110,000 tied up in your capital, so that leaves $40,000 on the table, and then we've got $15,000 in expenses that we just talked through. That means at the end of the project, the title company is going to send us $25,000. Okay, and that $25,000 is where we are going to get your $12,375 from, right? So clearly you can see where that 15% annualized return is showing up in this deal. And here's how, again, we got to your $12,375. We took that $110,000 you gave us up front and we multiplied it by the 11.25% or 0.1125 because the project took 9 months. And we got $12,375. Now, if the project took 12 months, naturally we would be multiplying that $110,000 by 0.15 or 15% for the annualized return. Moving on, the next logical question is, well, what happens at the end of the project? Well, at the end of the project, you're either going to get your $110,000 back, which what's really going to happen is I'm going to call you on the phone. I'm going to say, hey, Steve, great news. The project is done. Your money is going to be wired to you. In this case, your $12,375 is going to be wired to you here in the next 24, 48 hours. Just a question for you, Steve. Would you like us to hold on to your $110,000 and put it into the next deal? Or would you like that $110,000 back with your $12,375? So far, we've only had one person in several hundred deals ask for their money back. This particular person was going into business for himself, and he was starting up his own real estate project to make money on his own, which we encouraged. We thought was a great idea, and so we sent him his money back. Outside of that scenario, so far, everyone we've worked with has told us just roll that money into the next deal. And the reason you might want to consider doing that is because then you're going to make that 15% annualized return. Because remember, you're getting paid interest on your money for every day that money is not sitting in your bank account. Okay. Now, do you have to keep your money with us just because everyone has except for one person? No, not at all. You're always going to have the say on whether you want your money back or not at the end of the project. Okay. So what's next? Hopefully I've just made it clear and given you some confidence around how we are able to pay 15% annualized returns on our deals. And one of the things that I haven't said that makes all of this possible is we make our money on these deals when we buy the deals, not when we sell the deals. What I mean by that is our team is really, really good at getting deep discounts on deals so that, like in this example, we only have to ask a money partner, someone like you, for $110,000 instead of, say, $140,000, because we couldn't get that deal we couldn't get that home at a good enough deal. So we're asking for $140,000, and then we're turning around and selling it for $150,000, and now there's less money in the deal. Okay, so anybody that's been involved in real estate for any amount of time, that's been through the ups and downs in real estate, will tell you you make your money when you buy, not when you sell. And that's really our superpower, is our ability to buy off-market properties at deep discounts because of the marketing systems and strategies that we leverage out in the markets that we're in. Okay, so hopefully all that's clear. What's next? Maybe you've got questions about what I just shared with you. Again, if you do, that's my cell phone. There's a place to schedule a call. If you've already booked your call with me and you're just watching this training as bonus training to kind of get your mind around what we do, and you have questions, just write those questions down and we will go through those on our strategy call together. The last thing I want to share with you are just kind of two frequently asked questions we get. The first question is, what if I want monthly cash flow? Okay, I just want to make it clear, we have an option for monthly cash flow where we would pay you 12% annualized return. You can see the math in this deal at $110,000 of monthly cash flow would be $1,100. Okay, and that's actually, yep, that's 0.01. That would be $1,100 a month. That is correct. That is correct. So you're getting $1,100 a month. The reason for that is we're taking that 12%, dividing it by 12 months. So every month we're going to be paying you, sorry about the slides here, every month we're going to be paying you 1%. Okay. So that would be $1,100 a month. 9 months times 1,100 would mean you'd be getting $9,900 over the course of 9 months versus the $12,375. Okay. So if you're comfortable waiting to get your money, you're going to make a little more, 3% more, right? Or if you would like the monthly cash flow so that you have it to do what you want with, we can talk about that option on our call. In this example, that'd be $9,900. Okay, so that's one question we get. And the second question we get, which I believe I've answered, is what if I don't have $110,000? And the answer is we can get you into a deal for as little as $15,000 to $20,000. Okay, we can make that happen. Again, on a strategy call, I can talk you through all the different scenarios, get all your questions answered, and see if making money together outside of the market in real estate is going to be a good fit for the goals that you have with what you're doing. So that's the training. Hey, thanks for your time. I want you to know I don't take it for granted. Thanks for your trust. I definitely don't take that for granted either. And I look forward to connecting with you, hopefully sometime here in the near future, to get you involved in real estate. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.